Hi guys, so today we are making this maxi gown, and you can also call it maxi abaya. I used 3 yards of floral material, and then if you have 1.5 of plain material, it's all good. Firstly, I measured my full length. I folded using the width and not the length. So this is it. This is one of the pieces. This is my full length, but I folded using the width and not the length. Right, so the other piece that will be for the front, this is it on it. I folded using the full using the width also, but I reduced the length, so it depends on where you want that plain fabric to start from. I hope you understand. So now I have my back and front, but my front piece is shorter, right? So at this other part, I'm going to mark out my neckline. You can use any dimension or any type of neckline, but for mine I used 3.5 by 2, and I formed a round neckline for my back neckline, right? And then for the front neckline, I decided to use a V neckline, so I maintained that 3.5 width, and then I used 6 inches for the depth. So this one now that I'm marking is my round neckline, 3.5 inches by 2. Then I went down by 6 inches, and I'm going to join it to that 3.5 width, and that's going to be a V neckline for my front piece, right? So you can use any type of neckline you want and any dimension of your choice. So when I was done marking out my neckline, I'm going to go to the other side that is open, and I'm going to mark 1 inch. That 1 inch will serve as my shoulder slope. You should do that in this case. So this is me now marking the 1 inch, right? So after marking the 1 inch, I'm going to join it to meet that my 3.5 inches width. Slantly, use a slant line, you don't draw a straight line. So that's shoulder slope, right? So downward of that my shoulder slope, now I'm going to mark my sleeve opening. You can use any dimension you want, but for this I made use of 16 inches because I wanted it to be wide. If you don't want it to be wide, you use the measurement you want, right? So after marking that, now you watch what I want to do here. So I'll go inward any part, maybe the middle point of your piece. I'm going to mark my bust line. My bust line is 10 inches, so I'm marking from the top of my fabric downward to 10 inches, and on that 10 inches, right, I'm going to impute my bust measurement divided by 4. So that's what I want to do now. I'm going to impute my bust measurement divided by 4, right? So I'm going to mark it out. Then I'm going to add the allowance I need for the body of my gown, right? I'm going to add the allowance. Either you want to add 3, you want to add 4, you want to add 5. Depends on how free you want your gown to be. You understand, right? So I was just like making sure that I have my 10 inches for my bust line on that my line, because I know you guys can't see it, I know, but I don't have a color chalk at home. I'll try and get a color chalk when I go to the market, by God grace. So I'll try to explain. So after marking my bust divided by 4, I went ahead to add allowance 4 inches. So this is for the body, right? This allowance is for the body. So after marking that 4 inches for the body, I now went ahead, I added 3 more inches. That 3 more inches will be around the sleeve. I don't know if you guys get it, but after marking my 4, I see added 3 inches. Later on, I had to increase it to 4 inches. So that this 3 inches now will be with the sleeve part, not the body of your gown. So from that 3 inches I added again, I'm going to take a slant line to meet that my sleeve opening like this, and we have our sleeve, right? So now for my shoulder again downward, I'm going to mark my waistline. Whether you use 16, you use 18, you use 17, anyone you use, but I'll mark 16 in this case. And on that 16 inches line, I'm going to impute my waist divided by 4 plus additional allowance. I know it's not evident, but I'm trying my best to explain, and when I cut it out, you see everything. You understand? So after I'm imputing my waist divided by 4, and then I added 4 inches allowance. So the allowance depends on how wide you want it to be, how free you want it to be. So now I'm going to join this point together. That addition that I added, excluding that 3 inches, the 4 inches I added after I'm marking my bust measurement divided by 4, right? I'm going to join it to meet the 4 inches I added on my waistline. So in this case, you are joining the 4 inches together, excluding that 3 inches that we added around the bust, on the bust line. Guys understand? So that 3 inches added are at the bust line is not included in this. So after joining the 2 points, this is where I went ahead and I increased the allowance here on the bust line. Instead of 3, I added 1 to make it 4. So that's what I did. After doing this, from my waistline, I'll just take it slightly to the down part of my fabric, and basically that's all you need. So for this, you need your bust measurements, your waist measurements, and your full length and your desired sleeve length. So that's what you need. Those are the measurements you need. So now from my waistline, I'm going to take it slightly downward. I'm so sorry, I know it's not evidence, but I'm trying my best to explain, and I'm very sure you get to understand one or two. And the gown is very simple to make and easy to understand. So after doing that, I'll just go ahead and cut out my round neckline first. That's for both back and front. Then I'm going to lift the front piece up like this, and I'm going to cut out my V neckline for my front piece. So after doing that, I'm going to cut the shoulder slope part, then the sleeve part. So while cutting the sleeve part, you get to understand what I was trying to explain about 4 inches additional allowance and then 3 inches, right? So this is me cutting the shoulder slope part. Then let's go to the, so you see, while I cut slightly and I stop at that my 4 inches that I added. I took it straight and then I cut the bodies. So basically that 3 inches I later increased to 4 inches is part of the sleeve and not part of the body. I pray you guys understand. So when I was done cutting at the down part, I marked 2 inches upward and I formed a curve, right? But you can leave it like that also because you're adding addition. But I did this, and then I just trimmed the sleeve part, and this is all we have, guys. So when I was done with that, from the excess that I cut out, I'm going to go ahead and cut out interface. I'm very sure by now you guys know how to cut out interface, and now I do my stitching of interface. So I'll just trace out the neckline on pieces, like for the back and then from the front, and I'm going to stitch it to my fabric, right face facing right face. I can stitch the edges or weave the edges. Then after stitching, I'll just notch the stitch, and then I'm going to turn it over, give it a good iron press, and use hemming tape to tape it down. If you've been watching my videos, that shouldn't be a problem. So I've stitched it here. I'll just go ahead and notch some areas with my scissors. Careful not to cut where you stitch. Then you just go ahead, turn it over, use hemming tape to tape it down, and give it a good iron press. So I'm going to stitch the shoulders together. When I'm done stitching the shoulders together, from the excess I cut out also, so I have my back black piece. I cut out also a black plain material. So I want it to be around the sleeve like this, but I want the black piece to be outside while my fur material is inside. So I just make sure I cut out a piece that is enough for the wideness and the length that I'll be needing. So I'm going to stitch the two sides together, right face facing right face, just the two sides. I did not stitch up and down, sorry, I didn't stitch the side up and down. So this is it, right? So I'm going to fold it and divide it into two, since I stitched up and down. So basically when I split it into two, the pieces are stitched one part, right? So we have one part open and one part stitch. So you just turn it over. So I'm going to turn it over and give it a good iron press. So we have already cut out our band in this case. So the length depends on how long your sleeve opening is, and the wideness depends on what you need to complete your sleeve length. So I forgot I was supposed to do this. So please, when you're doing this, right, make sure that the place that is stitched, that's the band, is at the down part. I made a mistake. I placed the stitched part at the upper part, and then it actually affected, but I later was just I found a way to go around it. So this is what you do. Make sure the stitch part is at the bottom, while the unstitched part of your band is at the upper part. Then from where our 4 inches stop for the sleeve part, right, you're going to take it slightly downward, and that's what you cut out. So I made a mistake, right? So as you can see, it was later on I made the mistake. So I just had to rectify it, and I had to reduce it, and I did mine straight. But when you're doing yours, make sure the down part, the way I placed it right now, that's the way you place it before you use your tape to measure and then cut out, right? I hope you guys understand. So after doing this, I'll just stitch my band to my sleeve area. So where you want to be outside will be facing your front face of your fabric, and where you want to be inside will be facing you. So I want the black piece to be outside, so that's why it's facing my fabric while the floral part is facing me. So after I was done with that, I brought out my front piece, and this is the black material I'll be using. Is a crepe material. It's folded here. So I measured the length, the wideness I have at the down part, and you should be hoping to get ×2 or ×2.5 of it, because you are going to be pleating, and it can as well just leave it without pleating is also going to be fine, but I wanted to pleat mine. So I measured the length I'll be needing, you know, for my full length. So I cut that out, and then I still needed to add addition to it. So the one that was remaining at the down part, I picked it up and I'll be adding addition to it so I can have a longer length. So I used 2 yards for this one because the material is not full length. It's not 60. It's about 45 because I cut out a part of it for something else. So I used 2 yards, but you can use 1 to 1.5 yard. So this was after I was done pleating the down part. So I went ahead to join the shoulders of my dress together, and I'll stitch that band to the area, and this is it after stitching, right? Very good. So the next thing now is just to stitch the bodies together, and you're done, my sister. But before doing that, right, I created a strap, a band for my rope. So this is it. You can use any measurement you want. And me, I think I had 6 inches. I will just split it into 2, so I have 3 inches for each. Since we have 2 sides, so you'll be needing 2 straps. So you can place it inward like this, like I normally do, but this time around I decided to try something different. So I'll just open it up like this. It will be like this, and then you just stitch it, right? That's why they normally do abaya own. So that's why it's always at the back, right? So I did that, and I just stitch in. I'll show you guys the direction I stitch. Very easy. I use 1/2 inch. I just stitch around, and that's all, guys. And I hem the down part. Then I had to trim the down part of the black piece because it was over. So I had to carefully trim before I was able to get this down part. So you can wear it without the rope. You can do it without the rope, like you can see on me, very few and looking nice, right? And this is it with the rope. I did the rope using the black fabric, but I couldn't find it, so I just had to use my abaya rope for it, and it looks nice, right? Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Bye, guys.